Hi, I'm Jim Highland, founder of Winter Sun Farms, and today we're going to demonstrate some recipes with the Winter Sun Farms products. The first one we're going to try is the Harvest Butternut Squash Soup. This is one we did last year with the recipe from Harvest Cafe in New Paltz. It was a favorite, and I've been getting begged to put it on the website, and we're going to do one better and actually demonstrate the whole process. Here are the ingredients, fairly straightforward. We have onions, a tablespoon and a half of butter. We have the spices. Here is the cinnamon, sage, nutmeg, and salt. Here we have the maple syrup, water, and the butternut squash puree. The first thing we start with is turning on the heat. And we will add the butter. We're going to be sauteing the onions, so the butter was a little frozen, so we'll let it saute at a lower heat for a little while. Okay, here we have the butter melted. You do not want to brown the butter. You just want to melt it. So I have it on very low, and now we add the onions. At this point, also, I like to add, we will add the spices. Some salt, nutmeg, cinnamon, and sage. And now, we will heat this on low for about 5 to 6 minutes. We really like to blend all those spices with the onions and the butter. It really forms a really nice base for the soup. Okay, now the onions have been cooking for about 5 minutes. They're nice and soft. You can see all the spices in there really melding together, forming a really nice base for the soup. It gets a little sticky on the spoon sometimes. You can just scrape that off. Make sure you get all that flavor in there. And now we will add the butternut squash. The butternut squash we're using today is the butternut squash puree. That's from Hepworth Farm in Milton, which is Amy Hepworth is the grower. So this, we just cut it off and use it. This is also not completely defrosted. It's still a little frozen, but that's fine. You can just add it. The only thing you want to make sure, if it's not completely defrosted, is that you have it on low and let it defrost and melt slowly. You don't want to burn it. You can also use a spoon just to make sure you get out all the nice butternut squash in there. So as you can see, it is not completely defrosted. It's still a little frozen in there, but that'll work. That'll cook down. Just don't have it on high because you don't want to burn it. So I have it on nice and low, and everything's coming together. We'll let that defrost, and then we'll bring that to a boil. So you can see the butternut squash is melting nicely in here, defrosting. After it's defrosted a little bit more, we will add the maple syrup and the water. So now the soup's at a gentle boil. So now we will lower it. You can even put it on a lower burner, smaller burner if you want. And we'll just let that simmer just for about 5 minutes, really just blending the spices and different flavors together. So we'll let that go for 5 minutes. Okay, so after the boil, the soup boiled and simmered for about 5 minutes, it's ready to blend. You really could eat it just like this if you'd like to, but I think with this soup, to make it really a smooth puree, is better. One of the options is to use one of these stick blenders, which is nice. You can just blend it like that. But I feel, for this particular soup, that the blender does a much better job. But this is the danger part of the recipe, so you definitely want to be careful. What you do is just pour this straight into the blender, just like that. There you go. If you don't get every drop, it's okay. But you can edit that. This is just getting every little nice piece out. Okay, put that back on the stovetop. top back on. Just be careful with the steam in there because it will jump a little bit. Cover it up. Just start slow. There we go. Let it go. When you're blending it, you just want to make sure it's really moving. Sometimes when you're blending it gets stuck, but this looks like it's okay. That'll do it. So now we'll put it back in the pot. And the soup is done. Now at this point, you can taste. Very good. I'll add, this is right before serving. We can add a little bit more of the fresh sage. Maybe a tad of salt. And really any of the spices you did earlier, you could add those in too, if desired. But that is the end. And that's the Harvest Butternut Squash Soup.